Good evening, good evening. Good to see y'all tonight. Happy Sunday. Good to see you. Hoping all is well. Hoping that your week went well. Hoping that your weekend went well. I hope that your family is well, that your friends are well, that your cousins, nephews, haters are all doing well. I do hope all is well. I do appreciate everybody joining me on this Sunday night. I do know the football games either has happened or is happening. I think the Chiefs won, and I think the Saints and the Buccaneers are playing. So I promise you, I won't be before you long. So because I know you guys want to get back to your football game. I do know that. I do know it's the playoffs, but there is a motivational word. There is a motivational word. So I have a question. I have a question to start out with tonight. Just a question, simple question. Have you ever been told something that you did not use until later in life? Have you ever been told something, given some advice that you didn't use till later? And if you would have used it when somebody would have told you, you wouldn't have got caught up in some situations. You wouldn't have got caught up in some mess. You would have stopped yourself from doing some things and hanging out with some people. And it's so funny because Samuel in the book of Proverbs gives us some great wisdom and knowledge to understand why we need to listen to folks when they give us wisdom and knowledge to move us forward or to stop us from going somewhere or hanging out with people. But I have to give you a little background about Samuel, because not everybody reads the Bible. I wish people did, because if you understand, this is where you get some of your TV shows, where you get a lot of stuff. But Samuel was the third son of King David. It's so funny though, not only was he the third son, but he followed in his father's footsteps. He followed right into his father's footsteps. And Solomon, not Samuel, Solomon was the third son of King David. And Solomon followed right into his father's footsteps. Now, here's the catch. Scholars and some folks say he was the third king of Israel. Now, you have to understand, King David was his father. If you know anything about the biblical life of King David, you have to understand what Solomon learned and what Solomon saw. So there was lessons that he learned. He just didn't become a king. Parents, listen to me. There was lessons that he learned from his father. But all the while, his father was blessed because he was a man after God's own heart. David was a man after God's own heart. But Solomon got something different though. Solomon, he got something different. Solomon, he gained wisdom. God blessed him with wisdom. If I was to be real, he really blessed him with some OG stuff, because if you really read Proverbs, it's some stuff in there that's just straight up reality. And that's what we find in Proverbs chapter 1, 23 and 25. Now let me just say, for a sidebar, some people say Solomon was the wisest man who ever lived. But this particular scripture is not for just the believer. So if you don't go to church, if you don't believe in the Bible, let me just say for the record, this scripture is for you. because he's speaking to everybody. So here's what it says, Proverbs 1:23-25. Pay attention to my warning. Then I will pour out my thoughts to you. I will make known to you my teachings. But you refuse to listen. You refuse to listen when I called out to you. No one pays attention when I reached out my hand. You turn away from all my advice. You turn away from all my advice, and you do not accept my warning. That is what Proverbs 1:23-25 says. It's so funny that he says it that way. Because I remember my mother telling me this way. Well, you better listen to everything that I tell you. Come on, parents. Y'all done said that before. You need to take heed to what I'm saying. Matter of fact, everything that I say, you need to take note of. But he says, pay attention. But there's three key questions that we have to try to figure out here. Why did Solomon say this right here? Because if you read the first few parts of chapter 1, it's giving you a brief introduction of what Proverbs is, and it's telling you about who Solomon is. And then we get here, and then it says, pay attention to my warning. So the three key questions that we really have to look at and dive into is, why pour yourself into somebody? Why Solomon say, why did he say, I gotta pour my thoughts into you? Why am I pouring into you? Why should you pay attention? Why should you pay attention? And what happens when we don't listen? What happens when we don't listen? So let's look at why. Let's look at the why. Let's look at the why. Why am I pouring into you? So he first off says, pay attention to the warning sign. Pay attention to the warning sign. That tells me right there that clearly I need to open not only my eyes, but I need to open my ears, because clearly it's something that you're about to tell me that's going to help me along the way in life. There is something that you're about to give me some advice to block some mess that may come up in my life. So why am I pouring into you? If he says pay attention, it's so funny because you need to pay attention to when people give you advice. You need to pay attention when people are giving you their thoughts, especially if it's good teaching and doctrine. Because I wish I really knew who he was talking to. Because I feel like somewhere he was talking to his kids some days. He could have been talking to some people in the temple. He could have been talking to his people in the neighborhood. For me personally, I know that as an uncle, pay attention. I say it out to pay attention. Every parent has told their child, pay attention. Pay attention to my warning. You have to pay attention to the warning. Because here's why. People will pour into you. People will give you their knowledge. And here's the thing. If you really read more of the Bible, here's why you really need to appreciate this particular text. And this is why this particular text is so OG. It's because he's trying to stop you from struggling. People that's really pouring into you, that really are trying to get you to the next level, they are trying to stop you from struggling. They are trying to block stuff that's going to happen to you. And maybe, just maybe, they're trying to get you to point A to point B because they've been there. They have been there. So he says, pay attention to my warning. I remember my teachers in high school would always say, your friends ain't going to be your friends 10 years later. I should have listened to them because, boy, ain't that the truth. Some of the people that I graduated with, I don't talk to them no more. I don't really see them no more. But I should have listened. I should have listened. I should have listened when my mother told me the struggle is going to be hard. You're going to have some days where you lose sleep at night. You're going to have some days where you feel like throwing in the towel. And Solomon says, pay attention. I'm giving you my thoughts. I'm giving you my teaching. And this teaching word is so important because teaching means you're really giving them something to take them to the next level. So I got to give you my knowledge to help you through life. Every parent knows, if you are a parent, Justin, holler at your boy. If you are a parent, everything that you do for your child is to get them through life. Everything that you tell them, everything that you advise to them when they get older, especially college students. If you have a college student parent, it's your whole obligation, not just a parent, but now to advise, because now you got to give them not just parent knowledge, but now you got to give them some adult knowledge to make it through the struggle, teaching them how to make it through the struggle. You have to understand this, that Solomon clearly says, pay attention. Pay attention. I remember my teachers, y'all, when I was in school, I'm going to keep it real with y'all. Especially high school, I paid attention, but look, let me just get my C so I can play sports. Let me get my C. But I remember every one of my teachers would tell me, Charles, you need to pay attention. Pay attention. I feel like Solomon was in a classroom, in a college classroom. Pay attention. I'm giving you the answers to the test, but yet you ain't paying attention. Oh, come on, talk to me, college students. Your professor will give you the answers, but you sleep in class. You don't get on the Zoom call. You texting people talking about, I don't know this. But if you go to class and pay attention, a professor and a teacher sometimes will stop you from struggling in class if you pay attention. Pay attention. And it's so funny because if we look at 2020, if we look at 2021, the start of it, we should have been paying attention. Pay attention to these warning signs. All these folks talking about, well, that ain't what Donald Trump meant when he told them to go to the, come to D.C. and then he told them to go to the Capitol. Well, he said it. Pay attention to these warning signs. He gave them the knowledge and they did it. We'll get to that. We'll get to that last. But Solomon says, pay attention to my warning. Then I will pour out my thoughts to you, and I will make known to you my teachings. So he's trying to stop us from struggling. I remember when I was a young adult, I was a teenager. I was 18, 19. And me and my mother would get into it. Like, we would have these arguments. And I didn't understand. Like, I was like, Mama, man, I'm partying. I'm having me a good time. I'm at the club. Why are you giving me all this knowledge? real, y'all, I didn't really care about it at 18, 19, and 20. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. I just got home at 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, okay, ain't nobody gonna be real on this live stream and act like ain't nobody lived before. But I'm glad at 23, 24, 25, 26, I started listening to her knowledge. I started listening to her because it has helped me throughout life. So the second question, why should we pay attention? Kendall, why should we pay attention? Why should we pay attention? But you have to understand this, Solomon had to pay attention to his father. Every struggle, good, bad, up, down, he saw. Parents, listen to me. Everything that you do, your kids see. Don't be acting all strange when they doing stuff. Don't be acting all funny when they cussing in the grocery store. If they see you do it and hear you do it, don't act funny. Especially if you're not disciplining them when they do it. You can only do what you're taught. You can only say what you're taught. And that's what Solomon teaches us. Pay attention. Pay attention. But why should we pay attention? Why should we? This second question bothered me for a while. Why should we pay attention? And here's why. Because when you pay attention, you find out who people really are. You find out the places you don't need to be going or where you do need to be going. You pay attention. But this word pay attention doesn't mean with your just two eyes. Not with just the two eyes that you think you see and you can just see everything. You know, you watching your big screen TV tonight, watching the Saints and the Buccaneers. No. You pay attention with your third eye, with your mind, with your mental eye, with your spiritual eye. You pay attention to the signs. Think about it. Let's just think about it. Let's just talk plain for a second. When you drive your car, you have to pay attention to the signs. You have to pay attention to the roads. You have to pay attention to the road workers, especially if you live in Concord, North Carolina and drive on 29. You better be paying attention to them road workers on I-85 and 29 in Concord. Because it's just road signs everywhere. You have to pay attention to the signs. People will give you signs on how they feel about you, how they're going to treat you. People will give you signs on everything. The places that you go to will give you a sign on if they want you there. You have to pay attention. You have to pay attention. And Solomon says, pay attention to my warning signs. Pay attention to my warning signs. And this warning sign means he's trying to stop you. And a warning sign means stop. Don't go there. Don't do this. Don't do certain things. If it's a warning sign that says, don't go through the door, and you go through it, don't be surprised what happens when you walk through the door. If it says road closed and you still drive your car through the road that's closed, don't be surprised if you hit something. Come on, college students. If somebody is giving you advice, don't you date that boy, don't you date that girl, I'm trying to tell you they're not good for you, that circle ain't good, and you still go out and do it, and you don't pay attention to the warning signs, don't be surprised what happens to you. You have to pay attention. It's so funny that he says this, because this is real reality of what's going on in people's homes with college students, high school students, and middle school students. Parents, you tell them, you need to pay attention, you need to pay attention, you need to know who you're hanging out with, you need to know the circle, you need to know what you're doing. And all the while, most of them, some of them pay attention. And then there's some that don't pay attention to the warning sign. And then they call you every day crying, boo-hooing, upset because they done got into some mess and all hell done broke loose in their life. But Solomon gives us something. He gives us something that's just straight up. I wish he would have said it the way my mama said it, but I'm glad he didn't say it the way my mama said it. Because the third question, what happens when we don't listen? What happens when we don't listen? Well, if you refuse to listen to what I say, if you don't listen to what I say, don't be surprised of what happens to you. And here's the crazy piece about it. To my parents that got a college student, I know you want to encourage them to graduate from college. I know you want to encourage them to get the master's and get a good job and all of that. But at some point, you have to be like Solomon. I have to let go of your hands. You have to spread your wings and fly. If you're not going to listen and take heed to what I'm teaching you and what I'm telling you, I no longer can help you. You need to go figure it out on your own. I remember my mom, me and her getting into it, and I had the nerve, I just had the nerve that day to say, well, I don't want to listen. I don't want to listen to what you say. I really don't want to follow these rules. My mother looks at me. Now understand, I was in high school when this happened. I was in high school. And me and my mother were still having this argument. And I said, well, Mama, I don't want to follow these rules. Well, she said, get out. Because if you're not going to follow my rules, if you're not going to follow what I say, I can't hold your hand. I'm going to let you go out into the world and let you fall flat on your face. And then I'm going to let you come back to me. Solomon said, I got to let go of your hand. If you're going to be hard-headed, the way my mama was saying, a hard head make a soft behind. So if you're going to be hard-headed, I'm going to let your butt go out and get soft, because you want to go out and hang out with folks that you don't need to be hanging out with. You still want to go to places, parties that you don't need to be going to. And all hell break loose at the party, and you boo-hooing and crying. You shouldn't have went. Pay attention to the warning signs. But when you don't listen, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if you go down the wrong path. If people is telling you, look, you're smart enough to do this, you're smart, and I ain't gonna listen to them, I ain't gonna. Well, don't be surprised when all hell break loose. Pay attention. If you stop texting and driving, you won't get in so many car wrecks. Hello? Pay attention. You have to pay attention to the warning signs. That's why you should have listened. You should have listened. And in 2021, you need to listen. And you need to pay attention. Because Solomon clearly says, pay attention to the warning signs. But then he says, but if you refuse to listen when I call out to you, no one pays attention when I reach out my hand. If they're not paying attention when you reach out your hand, you can't be mad at you. You can't be mad at you. You can't be mad. You did it. I've been reaching out. I told you to not go there. I told you to not hang with them. I told you to come, look, get this advice, come to this conference, get this done, come to class, and you still not paying attention. Don't be surprised at the result. Don't be surprised at the result. Solomon had to learn from the ways of his father, from the ways of his own life. And all the while, he was talking to not just himself, but he was talking to other people. He said, pay attention. Pay attention to the warning sign. Pay attention to that warning sign. Because you'll be surprised that the person that's telling you about the warning sign, you'll be in your room saying, I should have listened. I remember, especially now, day after day, when I say, I should have listened to people when they told me at 18, 19, 20, I should have listened. I should have listened. But by grace and mercy, they didn't let go of my hand. And, they are still influential. They are still influencing me every day. And that's the crazy thing is, Solomon, he says, I have to let go of your hand. Because if you're really not going to listen to me, if you're really not going to pay attention to what I'm telling you, then there is no point of me giving you knowledge and wisdom. Parents, I know you got your college student. I know you got your high school student that's about to go off to college, especially seniors. But sometimes you just got to let go of their hand. And if they fall, let them. Because if they would have paid attention to your warning signs, they wouldn't have failed. You should have listened. You're something to think about. It's simple tonight. There's something to think about. Is simple tonight. It says this. They are giving you warning signs. Solomon, the people that are helping you along the way on this journey of life, that's giving you good advice, giving you good teaching. They're giving it to you because they're giving you warning signs so you won't struggle, so you won't fall flat on your face, so you won't encounter and endure what they've endured. But you have to understand, they're giving you the warning sign. It's on you to take it. It is on you to take it. It's on you. If you don't take the warning sign, it's on you. If you take the warning sign, it's on you. It's your choice. Thank you for your eyes. Thank you for your hearts. Thank you for your ears. You should have listened. All right, you guys. So that's all I have for you this week. Join me next Sunday as we mistaken, that will be the last Facebook Live that I'm doing, because everything else will be on YouTube. So I will have all that information. So please just join me on that. I thank you for joining me on this live. I know the Saints and Buccaneers are playing, so I know most people are watching the game. So y'all go enjoy the game. I'm going to go enjoy the game. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your week. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your evening. Y'all be blessed. It's your boy. Y'all know who it is. It's your boy Charles. I'm signing off. We out of here.